Jamaica's economy is on an upward trajectory, a fact reiterated by the co-chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Richard Biles, at a recent press briefing. Candice Ming has the details.
The International Monetary Fund (IMF) will reveal on June 16, 2015, its conclusion of the 8th review of Jamaica's performance under the Extended Fund Facility. The IMF team was in Jamaica from May 4 to 12. On Thursday, the Economic Program Oversight Committee (EPOC) held a press briefing to discuss Jamaica's performance mid the second quarter of the year, and things for the country are looking pretty good. The country's primary deficit is less than budgeted, tax revenues are $1 billion over budget, and the fiscal balance of central government is $1 billion less than budgeted. Meanwhile, the net international reserves NIR at the end of May was well in excess of the IMF target set to be tallied at the end of June. Additionally, Jamaica has been upgraded by 2 rating agencies, both giving the country a positive outlook. EPOC co-chairman Richard Biles says this is quite extraordinary.
Moody's moved us from a CAA3 to a CAA2, and Standard & Poor's upgraded us from a B- to a B with a stable outlook. And the Moody's outlook is positive. These are really important developments for the country. And the 2 rating agencies noted that the main reasons why they cause the upgrades to happen is because of the tight fiscal management, the positive economic indicators generally, and the doing business reforms.
Mr. Biles attributes one factor of business reforms to a new system installed by the government.
One of those reforms, by the way, is the whole system of processing imports and exports at the port, and it's called the ASECUDA system. And that's an acronym for one very long computerized system. And they have been working on this now for quite a couple of years, and they pilot tested and implemented the export side of ASECUDA in May. And the reports that we got at EPOC, where one of the custom brokers sit, is that it has dramatically improved the process of processing exports and getting all of that paperwork through. So quite an improvement there. The import side is to happen very shortly. It's in pilot mode now, and it is expected in a couple of months, if the pilot runs well, that side will be implemented too.
He says, as with the development application process for construction, these reforms are aimed at making the country's business processes easier and attractive. Minister of Finance and Planning Dr. Peter Phillips was invited to attend EPOC's last meeting on June 9, 2015 to discuss the country's economic performance last year and the outlook for this fiscal year, which began in April. Mr. Biles says Dr. Phillips was quite pleased with the 2 upgrades the country received in the last fiscal year.
He was naturally elated by the 2 upgrades that the country received in respect of the Standard & Poor's and Moody's ratings. And was very positive about the prospect of the IMF board approving the 8th quarterly test. Nonetheless, he was sanguine about how fragile the Jamaican economy is. And I think we have spoken about that issue here before. We're such a small and open economy that a drought can have a dramatic effect on our growth. So you may be steaming ahead looking at 1.5–2% growth. Severe drought hits you and you're lucky to get away with 0.4% growth. That means the economy is very fragile and susceptible, particularly to events that are outside of our control. Hurricanes, droughts, but also political and international events.
Despite Jamaica's achievements so far under the program, the economy is still being classified as fragile, and the minister pledged to the EPOC team that his ministry will not allow anything to derail the economic reform program.
He gave us a pledge that he would not vary from his commitment in respect of the four-year IMF program and the targets embedded in that. Whether it's general elections or it is the wage negotiation, he gave his pledge to EPOC that he and the government would remain firm that they have to meet these program targets.
Minister Phillips promises that the public sector transformation will finally begin this year and is expected to continue through to 2016. On to other economic news, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica announced that inflation for April this year was 0.2%. This means that the inflation for the previous fiscal year, April 2014 to March 2015, was 4%, the lowest experienced in Jamaica for 48 years.
I think this is a very notable development. The calendar year to date inflation stands at minus 0.5%, and the trailing 12-month is at 4.4%. So Jamaica finds itself in the low single-digit inflation category over the last 12 months, and hopefully we can stay in that category going forward. Important because remember, the devaluation is really linked to the rate of inflation in Jamaica versus the rate in the U.S. So if we can keep that spread between U.S. and Jamaican inflation tight, it means that the need for devaluation is considerably reduced.
There was also some good news for the tourism sector with a 4.5% improvement for the first quarter of 2015 over the corresponding period last year.
Stopover arrivals for the calendar year, January to April, is up nearly 5%, 4.9%, and cruise ship passengers up 11.2%. I keep mentioning these tourism numbers because tourism is really an important component in driving growth for us here.
Mr. Ball says his optimism for Jamaica's success under the IMF program has been piqued based on the achievements under the program so far. He notes that a big confidence booster will be if the IMF approves its 8th quarterly review of the country. Candice Ming for CEEN Caribbean News.